Thank you so much, Dakotah, for joining me today. I'm super excited about chatting about your journey in the mortgage influencer space.
Me too. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so you were just telling me that you joined NFM Lending pretty recently at a lot because of the influencer marketing type of support that they provide. And you grew your TikTok following from, what was it, 2,000 to about 12,000 people?
Yeah, in
And
about 2 months.
in 2 months, amazing. So tell me a little bit about you, how you got started in that space and kind of how it's supporting your business right now.
Yeah, so I started in mortgage lending about 2 years ago, and I had always followed on TikTok Scott Bentley, who is in TikTok and very into influencer marketing. I think he was the OG, the first one to do it, and so he really had kind of helped me with my business without, of course, knowing me. But I would follow his content and really get kind of like these key triggers that people seem to care about when they're buying their home and have questions about when they're buying their home. So it started off with me just following him. And then as I kind of started getting more comfortable in my business, I would post some kind of fun things. And my goal was always to just target the people that I knew and my agents that I already worked with. I never even thought big picture of being able to generate business from TikTok. But I had commented on one of Scott's posts and he replied back and said, join my team. And he had just been starting. I think there right now, I believe there's 5 of us on our team. And he had, I think, had one person that had joined so far. And so it was very beginning stages, but I loved what they were doing. And it took me about 6 months to come over. Started on December 6th. And ever since then, it's like he's been coaching me and kind of helping me with the content strategy and how much to post and things like that. And it's really just, I think it's consistency over content kind of,
Mhm.
and posting a lot of things because you just never know what's going to be a pain point trigger for people, and what they're dealing with to be able to buy a house,
Yeah. And in addition to it helping you generate more business, which is a new thing for you, what else has it done for your business?
I think that it's given me a voice in the space. And I've noticed that people are reaching out to me that I don't think would have reached out to me otherwise because they're kind of seeing what I'm doing and it's out there. My numbers are kind of more public. And I think it makes people trust you a little bit more. And so I'm having real estate agents that I would have killed to work with, a year ago that I would be taking them to lunch to want to work with them. I'm having them reach out to me
Mhm.
and see how they can work with me and how we can come up with a partnership together. So I think that that has just been huge for me to be able to kind of have this voice in this space that is typically kind of like male dominated, older. And now here I am, a young mom giving advice on how to buy a house for the first time, investors for the first time, rent your house out, buy another one, and in more like simple terms. And I think people kind of resonate with that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm really passionate about is helping to, or us understanding as an industry how to communicate these things in a way that resonates and really translates over because it's such a complicated and stressful process that a lot of people really back out without even giving it much of a shot because it's just, or just without knowing because they don't have someone that they trust or they don't understand the process. Um,
Yes, totally.
what do you feel like are some of the big fears or questions that come up in that you've maybe created content around or heard from your viewers that you're trying to respond to?
I would say like anytime I post something about down payment assistance, I get people saying there's no way you can buy a house with no money down or little money down. There's no way that you can do that. It's impossible. You need 20% down to buy a house. We're too broke for that. And
Mhm.
I think that kind of like the millennial Gen Z mindset around money is kind of like the government has held us down and we can't do anything about it. And I'm trying to break that a little bit because I bought my first house at 23. I used down payment assistance. I bought it for $3,500. I used that house, kept it as a rental, bought my second house. I'm under contract on my first second home investment property house in another state right now. And I never would have been in the financial position that I'm in if I hadn't known that I could use down payment assistance to buy that first house. I didn't have any money either.
Mhm. That's an incredible story. I had not heard that. And I feel like people really need to hear that. It's not impossible to do. And it's that 20,000 or 20% down payment is a huge barrier. And in fact, in the last year, we did a study with next gen homebuyers and found that I think it was over 50% said that they thought that they needed 20% to buy a home. And, these are all people that were either in the process of buying or had recently bought. So you can imagine just general consumers, obviously that's going to be a higher percentage too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that sometimes we're scared. Like when I first started putting myself out there in a way, like I started off with very safe things that I was like, okay, this isn't controversial at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I'm getting more comfortable, I am posting these things where I'm like, no, you know what, this is the truth. And it's okay if people don't want to, believe that it is true. And of course, there's nuances and every situation is different. And a loan officer needs to look at everything, and you can't get that all into a 60-second video or whatever it is. But I think just giving people the in like kind of light to try and call someone to see if it's possible for them is kind of the goal behind what I do.
Yes, I love that you bring that up because I think we've changed the way that we consume information. And I don't know, do you do any YouTube content?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
That's a totally different game. And I think people lump it all together, but I think you really have to understand how to communicate across different mediums. And TikTok, I think, and a lot of, Instagram content, that kind of stuff is very good for capturing the audience and getting some quick messages across. It's great for dispelling some quick myths and just building that trust because you're showing up consistently. Whereas YouTube would be where someone wants to dig in a little bit deeper. And we found that 74% of people go to YouTube for personal finance information, which just tells you of the next gen audience, which just tells you how much people have shifted the way that they do research and the way that we consume information. And so, but you're doing content in an area that I think is very much overlooked. And it tells us a lot about the way, again, that this generation is or the younger generation anyway, is really consuming information.
Yeah. And I'm so surprised at, the amount of people that trust me through a TikTok video to actually apply and trust me with their social security number and with all of their financial information to help them buy a home. And a lot of these people are not in my state. Like I've never met them. And so my team is licensed in 47 states. I'm only licensed in Colorado. And so I'm able to kind of help walk them through that process in another state, but I will never meet those people face to face. But I think we feel like we know each other through social media. And it's that relatability thing. Because I think that it used to be that the more professional you were and like suit and tie was what won people over. And now I think it's shifting to who can you connect to and who is more relatable to you and who went through the same thing that I went through and is in the same stage of life as me. And so I try to kind of like hone in on those people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. And there's such a huge audience there that I think is really underserved. So,
yeah, totally.
What do you think that industry professionals in general, mortgage companies, lenders, loan officers, realtors, what do you think that they need to understand about the younger generation of home buyers that maybe we're not understanding today in general?
I think that we need to understand that they are, I think, more creative in the way that they look at how to do things. It's not the traditional put 20% down and buy a house when you have a kid anymore. It's buying a duplex and house hacking it. It's they want to live in the city, so they're going to rent in Los Angeles, but they'll buy 2 investment properties in Kansas so that they still own real. I think that really just like understanding the generation, and that our goal, like, and the younger generation, a lot of our goal is to build wealth, but in like a creative way. Like their cryptocurrency is a thing that was never a thing before, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that would probably be the biggest thing. And I mean, I know just in my industry, people look at me like I am a crazy person when I say that I get business from TikTok. I don't even want to
Yeah.
say the word. I don't even want to say like, yeah, I do social media, you know, things. And if I say TikTok, it's like, okay, you know, like they don't take me seriously. And so I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times people don't take younger buyers seriously either. My youngest buyer was 20 years old, and he told me he was so well qualified. And I tell his story all the time, and I tell him that I tell it, because he was so well qualified. And he told me that other lenders brushed him off because they just thought he was too young and didn't know what he was doing. And it's like,
Wow.
what?
Yeah. That's so interesting. I definitely think that, I mean, just in starting this series and talking about it a little bit and talking with TikTok influencers in mortgage, people are immediately surprised, one, that exists, that people are talking about mortgage on TikTok, and two, are kind of dismissive sometimes about that form of communication or connection being really valuable. And so that's really a lot of the point of this, is to talk about how different forms of communication can be used in a really valuable way. And we need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so my last question for you is just, what made you passionate about this in general? I mean, I know you kind of stumbled into the TikTok world, but in terms of financial literacy or the mortgage industry, what brought you into it?
So I really think that I knew that mortgage was my calling after we had bought our house,
Mm.
because I did not think we were ready to buy a house. I was making $20 an hour, you know, and we didn't have very much money saved. And our lender was like, well, there's this down payment assistance program. And like, if he wouldn't have told us that, we would, I mean, we could still be renting, you know,
Mhm.
we could still be trying to save the 20% that everyone wants to save. So as soon as that happened, I was working at a bank at the time, and I started like at a teller and then kind of worked my way up. And so I've been in banking for about 8 years. And I said, I want to do that. I want to be that for someone. And then it took me like 3 years to kind of like get there.
Mhm.
And so I just want to be someone that he was for us, to be able to just say the thing, you know, it's not like I'm not doing anything really special. I'm just good at my job, and I'm willing to say the one thing that might grab someone's attention enough to make them want to try to buy a house. And whether it's with me or someone else, I don't care. I just want them to know that it's possible for them.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And thank you so much for leaning into your calling and your passion. I also was a bank teller whenever I was younger, so I know that can be a hard
Classic.
job. But um, anyway, well, thank you so much for taking your time. How can people follow you or follow your content?
So my TikTok is Your Mortgage Mom. And my Instagram, I just use my personal Instagram. It's Dakotah Tay. And then I have a website as well that, you know, I think is linked in my TikTok bio too.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Dakotah, for taking the time. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much. You too.